Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Yes, I am doing patch notes. Even though I'm sick, I got to do my patch notes. If you appreciate the effort, do throw a like on the video, it does help out, and please let me know what you think of them. And just fair warning, this is a huge patch note. I don't really know why Riot's timed it the way that they have. Also, my shirt's a bit dirty, excuse me. But this is an absolutely massive patch note. I would have thought they would have saved some of this stuff for more end of season, preseason. Obviously, we don't have an official preseason anymore. It's going to be on the PBE. But there's some big stuff here. The game's going to change. The feel of it is going to change from this patch. So, obviously, my voice is not doing 100%. So, I'm going to be fully transparent. And I might record for 20 minutes, half an hour, then have a break. I'm just going to see how my voice does. If it just holds out as it is now, I'll try do it in one go. But we'll see. Also, feel free to pause it right now. Go get yourself a drink. Go get a coffee or a tea or whatever. And, yeah, have old school RuneScape on one screen, this patch note video another, and have a nice chill time. Let's get into it, though, because, yeah, it's going to be a long one. So, we've got NERFs, individual champions. Obviously, not a crazy amount, because there's other things going on. NERFs, though, to Akshan, Belveth, Kaiser, hello again, Quinn, which is bizarre, and Zed. Zed has been around for quite a while. Buffs, though, to Galio, Jinx, Milio, Morgana, and Ziggs. And Mr. Cassante is getting big adjustments. So they are, in essence, nerfing him. The big area that this patch is really focusing on, though, is kind of that. But, yeah. So we're getting system changes to Blighting Jewel. Jesus. Another Dustblade change. Jungle, in general. Lord Dominic's Regards, Smite in general, Snowball, and Yumu's Ghostblade. And our new content is Coven stuff, and also a Zaya thing, and Worlds Renekton is about. And Neopax Jax. So Neopax Jax, if it's like Neopax Severe, you only can get that skin if you own the original Jax, I think. Or is it you get given that skin for free if you own the original? I don't know how it works, but yeah. Anyway, what does it say? Will be available to purchase for $18.20 each. If you own the original Star Guardian skin, you can get the redeemed version of the same champion for 45% off. Yeah, I think these have also had like a lot of the modern skins. They've got controversy behind them because Riot is getting a bit lazy and money grabby. So I think they've probably done this as like a, hey, compensation. I don't know. But there's that. Jack's visual update. So I'm going to be real with everybody. This is awesome. He looks insane. His kit is exactly the same. So don't worry if you're a Jax player. They're not changing how he plays. He has just got a visual update in-game and also splash arts. He is a proper Chad. And I hate that term because it's cringy. But he is one. Like, you know. They've really beefed him up in terms of his physicality of being the ultimate warrior, in essence. He looks cool. So look out for him in game. Very nice, very nice. Let's get into it, though. So I'm not going to probably stay too much on the champions, because, again, the bigger changes are actually the big gameplay changes. So excuse if you know, hopefully that makes sense. So Akshan, Q bonus movement speed decreased, and E base damage decreased. So just nerfs all around. Akshan, I think he's a cool champion, but he is very, very frustrating to play against. We've all been in that situation. Most Akshans feed, like, let's face it. But then we've all been in that situation that the enemy Akshan, who's been doing awful, suddenly revives 3 or 4 people in late game, and then you lose because he just revived 3 or 4 people. That's very frustrating. So the bonus movement speed was 40% on his Q. It's now scaling up to 40%. Instead of being 40% straight away. So again, bit worse lane phase there. And his E, damage per shot, is going down, in essence, of base. So the scaling is the same, everything's the same, apart from absolute base damage. And it's only 5 damage per, so it's not ridiculous. But Akshan players might feel a little bit, you know, with the movement speed and a little bit less damage, lane phase is going to be a bit more rough. But again, that's technically not his specialty anyway. Belveth, passive bonus attack speed after spell cast decreased. E can now critically strike. Oh god. Are you ready for crit Belveth? Damage reduction decreased because of that, I'd imagine. And minimum damage dealt adjusted. On hit damage increased. and then the R Remora health adjusted. Wow. So yeah, this is very true, by the way. So the Void Queen has been dominating early game. I remember a few days ago on Reddit, obviously, and it is worth saying, because some people are like, oh yeah, I saw that Reddit thread. Did they react to that? No. These are set in stone a week or two ago. Like, Riot know what they're doing, you know, a little bit before. And that thread from me recording this would have been maybe about 4 or 5 days ago. And that thread was literally like, you know, by the own designer's admission of Bel'Veth, she doesn't live up to what she's supposed to be. You know, she's been dominating early game, but she's supposed to be a hyper carry late game. What's going on? And I will say that is true for quite a lot of champions at the moment. But anyway, they are moving her away from early game into probably what she's supposed to be. So yeah, going for more late game scaling builds with crit and all that. So she could be really scary. Think of a Master Yi that actually is critting you as well. Oh Jesus. So the bonus attack speed after spellcast was 25 to 50. It's now 20 to 40. So they've just kind of slowed that down a bit, which is good. And then, yeah, the E can now crit. I can't believe that I can crit. That's the really stabby, quick thing. The damage reduction was 70% from the beginning of the game. It's scaling up to 70%. So again, hurting the early game. I think that is completely fine. I think it was a bit ridiculous to have 70% damage reduction at spell level 1. The minimum physical damage, by the way, is also going up. Less on base, but is better for scaling. So again, hurting that early game of base damage, but better for overall late game when you have more AD. And the minimum on hit damage, oh, well, that's that. So there you go. And then the ultimate, the health. So the Remora health of minions maximum health. I presume this is going down. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you have. I have definitely, and I've even been the Bel'Veth. When Bel'Veth gets her Void version of her ult, so if she kills Rift Herald or Baron, obviously she gets the Void, the ultimate Void version. That then, when she kills minions in lane, she then spoils Voidlings, in essence. They are crazy. And even in the early game, like the first Rift Herald, boom, Bel'Veth is just absolutely on a tear. So they're nerfing the health of them in the early game, which is good. So they were 40% of minions and maximum health. Am I reading this wrong? No, right? Why does it say Remora health, which I think is her when she looks like the Manta Ray, but then minions maximum health? Is it 40% of her health is their health, maybe? So now it's 20% of Bel'Veth's health is then her minions' health? That's what I'm guessing it is. Anyway, if that's right, let me know in the comments. That's being basically halved at level 6. And then it's still nerfed at the level 11 version. And it is technically buffed in late game. So everything that they're doing, even the movement speed as well, exactly the same. For the true form, that's what it's called, she gained 25 movement speed. She's now only gaining 10 at level 6. Because again, Bel'Veth would, you know, prioritize heavily. Rift Herald, level 6, boom, she takes over the map. They're toning that down as much as they can. They are trying to turn her away from, you're not an early game, you're a late game, and that's fine. Next champion is Galio, which you don't see a lot of. The problem with Galio, and this isn't going to change anything, is Galio is an anti-mage who nowadays most mid laners aren't really mages, let's be honest. And for him even to be relevant, even as an anti-mage, he doesn't do nowhere near the carry damage an anti-mage even needs to do. Look at Kassadin. Kassadin is an anti-mage. He does crazy amount of damage eventually. So maybe they should look into that, because what they're doing for Galio, they're buffing his W by making it lower on cooldown, and the shield out of combat timer is also going low. So that's not going to do anything for Galio. That's not going to bring him back. Sure, if you're a Galio one trick, you'll be like, yay, buffs, but that's not going to do anything. Jinx, health growth increased, passive bonus total attack speed now stacks. R cooldown decreased, base damage increased, ADC. Oh, wow, a lot of buffs. So her base health is going up, which I think they actually nerfed a while ago, so that's coming back up. The passive Get Excited, the 25 bonus total attack speed gained from Get Excited on takedown now stacks. Wow. So she could, in theory, if she gets like a triple kill, that's 75% attack speed. That's a lot of attack speed. I presume it breaks the from memory 2.2 ratio was the maximum you could ever have on attack speed, but some things can break past that, and I'm guessing this is one of them. The super mega death rocket is going 5 seconds on each rank lower cooldown. Not much, but does add up. The minimum damage is going up by a very small amount, but the AD ratio is going up, so that'll be better for late game. And the exact same for the maximum damage. Obviously, the minimum damage seems very little because that's if you're ulting and someone's next to you. It gains more damage the longer the missile goes for. So obviously the buffs do look a little bit more impressive at the maximum range, but still not crazy. The bigger thing is the that is at maximum range. It's a 15% bonus AD ratio, so that's actually pretty good. Mr. K'Sante, so all abilities adjusted. So, unsurprisingly, new champions, as we've many times said throughout the years, have their issues. And the problem with K'Sante, it's very similar to Senna. Senna's had, over the years, she's been a nightmare to balance. It's because some concepts are just not, dare I say, balanceable. Like, Senna is a support, but it's actually an AD carry. That's a really weird and funky mix that if you go slightly over the line, she's crazy OP. K'Sante is a tank that then becomes a damage dealer. Again, very scary and very hard to balance because tanks are strong, usually anyway, but damage is very high, and he can do both. Again, the ethos of old League of Legends obviously is long dead, of every champion should have a very definitive weakness. A lot of new champions don't. They just simply don't have big weaknesses. So I think instead of going in over each ability little things, we'll just read the paragraphs which will explain what they're doing. So K'Sante has been suffering in average play due to the needing to balance him around pro since his launch, because again, if you leave him in a strong state, he'll be in every single game. Once mastered, he leaves little room for his reaction, and his opponents will often find themselves dead while being stunned the whole time. After all, it doesn't matter how good Showmaker is if K'Sante can hit confirm his whole combo via an instant spell cast. Meanwhile, most players won't even know what that means. Do I know what that means? They can hit confirm his whole combo via an instant spell cast. Nope. If you know what that means, let me know. I presume it basically could even be spell queuing, but presumably it's if you hit your spells in the correct order, which a pro player always will, there's no room for counterplay. Like, that's what I'm guessing, and he can pretty much do it in an instant. Let me know if that's right. The changes here broadly serve two goals. The first is to slow down the beginning of K'Sante's combos. Pathmaker now has a minimum channel time, and he cannot flash during Q3. That's quite big, actually, because a lot of K'Santes used to do that. That was the slam that has like the knock back into him. It was very common that K'Santes would flash using that. Both of these changes will allow skilled players to outplay his incoming combos, which are difficult to do before. However, in these more difficult skill shots, if these more difficult skill shots land, K'Sante can combo his abilities together just as before. Okay. The second set of goals aims to give K'Sante stronger overall abilities now that his counterplay has been removed. This means much stronger stuns and damage from W, plus more reliable upsides from All Out. That's scary. So again, they don't want to admit defeat with him yet, and that's sometimes what Riot does. A new champion, they just can't balance it. Right, just nerf it to existence. Maybe in a year's time we'll revisit. They don't want to do that yet. If this doesn't work, watch them nerf him like crazy, and then they'll just kind of go, okay, in a year's time, maybe we'll have a new designer with a fresh pair of eyes and they know what to do. Like, sometimes that does happen. So overall, it does look like they're making him a little bit squishier in some aspects, but he is getting more armor growth. Well, yeah, less base health, which is good. But yeah, it's just overall nerfs. I would say that the flash is quite a big thing. So yeah, if you're a K'Sante player really, who was doing the typical K'Sante things, it might be a bit frustrating to get used to this now. So that is to be said, but there's that. Next champion is Kai'Sa. base armor decreased, so they're just making her squishier in essence. So obviously she's back as being one of the MVP AD carries again, with a very uninteractive build, and it is weird that that is the direction that Kai'Sa's gone, is basically be as uninteractive with the game as possible. Of like, eventually her goal, like it was when she went full AP, is just to land massive W's and occasionally ult in and just press her Q and it just blows people up. That's it. She doesn't really do the standard auto-attacky AD carry thing anymore much. But yeah, so if she's squishier, sure, but that still doesn't really fix the problem. Milio. Burn damage dealt by allies now procs Milio's items. E cooldown decreased. Base shield strength increased. And R healing ratio increased. So yeah, haven't seen a lot of Milio. And the problem with Milio as well is he only combines well with certain AD carries. And certain AD carries in the current EVA meta aren't good with him. I would never pair him with a Samira, for example. Like, that would be awful. I really probably even wouldn't pair him with a Draven. I'd probably be okay with pairing with a Caitlyn, maybe a Kai'Sa, but not perfectly. So I think the problem that some enchanters have, and it's one of the weaknesses of the class, I guess, is enchanters aren't a standalone by themselves thing. They obviously are a thing that helps other champions. And when you're in that area, some of them connect well with other champions and certain types, and some don't. So again, I would never want Milio with a Samira. I'd want a more all-in support. But would I want an all-in support with a Cogmore? Maybe not. I maybe want a Milio. So it's the nuance of obviously the support role, which is quite interesting. But obviously you do have players that are like only enchanter players, for example. And that's where it can sometimes get a bit rough. So yeah, they're just in essence... burn damage now counts as Milio's damage even when applied through allies, so that will help his own damage meter, which is good. But that is allowing to interact with select number of items like Hextech Putrefier, so that's good. That's nice. But burn damage will still grant the ally who applied the debuff the kill, however, preventing from Milio accidentally taking kills. Warm Hugs, his E, which is the shield, is going down on cooldown by 1 second per rank, and the base shield is going up, so that's a overall a buff. And then the heal, which I'll be honest was always pretty bad. They are buffing his heal AP ratio by 20%. So still not going to be insane, but will help a little bit. Morgana, W AP ratio increased and damage to monsters increased. Oh god, Morgana jungle's back, baby. E cooldown increased early. R movement speed increased. Stun duration increased. Jesus, there's obviously memes about her stun of her Q that you can go make a cup of tea by the time you'll actually get unstunned. And now they're increasing the stun of the ultimate as well. Okay. So the problem with Morgana, I like Morgana. You'll see me occasionally play her. She's very good into certain matchups. She's very bad into others. And that's the problem. The best champions in the game, you could basically say, are very good into certain matchups and they're okay into the others. They're the best champions because there's no lose situation. But Morgana is very good into some, and then they're little amount of matchups, and she's very bad into basically everything else. That's the problem with Morgana. But maybe Jungle Morgana will make a comeback. So look out for that in your games. Black Shield cooldown's going down, and then ultimate buffs. Interesting. Quinn. So I will be honest, I found it hilarious. I saw this the other day in the preview of like what champions are being buffed and nerfed, and when I saw Quinn nerfs, I was like, what? Apparently some people are playing Quinn. I honestly don't... Yeah. Whenever I see a Quinn, I just expect the game... If I'm on Quinn's team, I'm expecting it to be a loss, and whenever I'm against the Quinn, I'm expecting it to be a win. I do rate Quinn as the worst champion in League in terms of strength. As an individual champion, I think she's the worst by far. Skarner maybe is a close second. But she's obviously played in top lane, but most matchups in top she loses, and the moment that a meta top laner buys Hullbreaker, she's screwed. So I don't really know. I've not personally seen why Quinn is getting nerfed, but maybe other people have. Let me know in the comments. But they are making her squishier. God. They're reducing her movement speed, but they're giving her a little bit more attack damage growth. Oh dear. They're They're pretty big nerfs too, so ouch. Zed. Obviously the meme of Zed has been he's basically become a mage with modern day builds and item haste and everything like that, and he basically has. I like Zed, but it's true. So they are nerfing his W, which obviously is kind of the extra artillery of a shadow with then you have 2 shurikens flying out, etc. So they are saying, by the way, is while the vast majority of Zed players max Q in E2, W max second is currently better and is growing in popularity among high skill brackets of play. This is giving Zed expectation breaking ability uptime, and he is also acquiring plenty of haste through his items, which, yeah, there's too much haste on items nowadays. Since we're addressing the items with the 2024 gameplay changes, so is that Riot confirming, yes, we are toning down ability haste, we're slowing the game down again? That would be good. We're going to look to nerf his incentive for maxing W directly. So there you go. So just nerfs on the W, that will help because, Zed has become a bit obnoxious for a little while. Ziggs, don't see a lot. Oh, that's a big... Oh, I like that. I like Ziggs, but you don't see him a lot. Obviously, you occasionally see him more in bot lane than anywhere else, but he is supposed to be a mid laner. One of the most annoying things with Ziggs, and people may remember me even saying this in commentaries, is him, you're throwing a bomb, and obviously it's the bounce, 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 and his hitbox for it was also always really harsh. More harsh than most other champions in the game. His explosion hitbox on his Q is going up by 30 unit of range. That's a really nice change. Like, honestly, that I'm going to play Ziggs next time I stream. I'm going to give Ziggs a go, and hopefully it'll be so much nicer to play. And again, what they're saying here is we are giving him a buff. We hope his mains will appreciate. They really will. As an ex-Ziggs player, I used to play a lot more of the champion. That is really nice. So I'd actually say well done to Riot with that. Right, now we're getting into the items. So Blightling Jewel is going cheaper, 150 gold cheaper. And I think that's actually quite nice. So obviously this is the component that helps towards Void Staff. And I think the reasoning behind this, and oh yeah, it has to be. So AD items have been stronger for a long time over AP items. It's not even an argument. They simply have been stronger. And everything about them, even like the components of AD items, are cheaper. You know, Longsword versus Amp Tome and all that. Well, Serrated Dirk is the first, obviously, big power spike most AD lethality champions will get. And what does that do? Lethality shreds armor. What's the cheapest way for an AP user to get that equivalent, basically, as this item? And it was 150 gold more. That made no sense. They should be the same. And that's what they've done. So Serrated Dirk is 1100 gold. And so is this item. They do the same job. They're the first component to do any form of armor or magic resist shred. Boom, they're the same price. I like that. I think that's good. Duskblade of Drakthar. So ability haste nerf. So 5 ability haste is going away. And the damage amplification is also going down. So just nerfs to the item. Again, if I was a gambling man, I wouldn't be surprised if this item does not survive the item update. It's had so many complications. They don't really know what to do with it. It's always either too, like, well, most of the time it's too strong. So I would expect that maybe to be gone. Lord Doms is a new update. Passive Giant Slayer now applies before shields and lifesteals are calculated. Oh, that's really good. What does that mean? Okay, so how this item worked before, let's just use Scion as an example. He's always tanky. It's a Scion with 5,000 health. Lord Doms would before calculate how much it can do to that champion, because obviously it does percentage damage and all that stuff based on health, etc. It would calculate, right, that Scion's got 5,000 health. But what happens when he presses W and let's say it gives him a 700 health shield? Well, actually, he's got 5,700 health, 5,700 health. So it would be ignoring an extra 700 health that Scion has, he has available. Now it's taking that into account. Obviously, if you auto attack and he doesn't have his shield up, it won't calculate it that way. But the moment that he has a shield, every auto attack will be calculating what health he's got now. That's a good change. I like that. Yumu's Ghostblade is being buffed. So again, Yumu's is just being straight up outperformed by Duskblade. You don't really see people buying Yumu's. So they're just buffing, they're nerfing Duskblade, buffing Ghostblade in hopes with, you know, more people will maybe buy Yumu's. And now we're getting into some of the bigger changes. So we're getting into jungle adjustments. So a lot to talk about here. So we're updating Smite. How many times have they changed Smite? To make it more user-friendly. If your cursor is on top of a large or epic monster, minion, or champion, it will smite that target, just as it always has. However, if your cursor isn't hovering on an allowed target, it will automatically target the closest epic monster within a small radius. That means junglers can still smite or baron even a massive, with a massive Cho'Gath in the way. That's quite powerful, and do I like this? Do I not? It's a mix, really, because one of Cho'Gath's, you know, using him as the example, one of his strengths was his size, because he was such a big distraction, and part of his kit is literally getting bigger to be more annoying, to be bigger, to be, look at me, and getting in the way of smites for Baron actually was one of Cho'Gath's strengths. So they are kind of inadvertently nerfing larger champions. Cho'Gath is the biggest example because he can be the biggest champion, but that's also a nerf to Zac, that's a nerf to Sion, like all the big unit champions, that is a nerf to. So yeah. But then also what we got here is this means junglers can smite, blah blah blah. We still think it's valuable for timing to matter, but requiring precise aiming for smite is not something we want to subject junglers to. I don't know why, because again, isn't that a skill? Otherwise, we're lowering Smite's overall damage output when aimed at enemy champions and pets. It's now primarily meant to be a slow with some minor damage attached. So I will say, I actually remember seeing a Reddit thread of this a couple weeks ago. I don't follow the guy, but people may know that Hecarim main, the crazy guy, Dantes or something. He did actually, which is quite rare, I guess, a serious post on Twitter saying this is what's wrong with jungle of why the role is too strong, and he included Smite. Smite is an extra damage spell, and he's like, it really shouldn't be. It make it utility, sure, but why is it giving us a lot of damage? Our champions should be doing the damage. And one of the head gameplay people replied, and they basically said, we agree. So I don't know if they got that from him, because that was actually quite a few weeks ago, but it's what they're doing. So the damage to champion to pets used to do 20 up to 160, is just doing 40 damage at all levels now. So it's flat 40. Close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and epic smite. So smite now has 350 units of target forgiveness around epic monsters. Okay, so that's how long it is. Damage type was a spell. It's now a proc. So this means smite will no longer trigger on spell effects like demonic, similar to smite, which is good. And primal smite AoE damage with smiting monsters. It used to do 50% of smite's damage. It's now 100% of smite's damage. There you go. Jungle companion upgrades. I'll be honest, I doubt these are going to stay, by the way. When they announced them, I was like, it's not staying. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these jungle companions disappear. Riot have tried it in the past. Maybe, you know, if you're newer to the game, you wouldn't know. Many years ago, we had jungle pets. They were called spirits. We had spirit of the elder lizard or whatever. They were a blue item, and we basically had that. And we didn't have like a physical entity following us 24/7, but I think it was kind of like hovering around every now and then. They've kind of tried it before. I don't see it staying in the long term, but anyway. So removed is all primal smites. So junglers with primal smite will no longer take 20% less damage from epic monsters when 2 or more allies are nearby. So that's gone. And also the extra tenacity from Moss Stomper is going away too. So our goals of these changes are to trim some hard to appreciate or simply overpowered aspects of the avatar upgrades. Obviously, that's when you get the 1200 smite is when the upgrade happens. For example, most players haven't noticed the epic monster damage reduction. Moss Stomper's tenacity made it too hard to disengage from enemy junglers, and Ghost Walker's movement speed made it too easy for junglers to cross the map quickly. We'll keep an eye out for jungle item balance after this patch to ensure that each of the pets still has a viable place on the roster. So they're in essence just nerfing all three, in essence. So again, Scorch Core damage type requirement. Any damage is now only attacks and spells. So yeah, crazy. Normal camp health. So with the changes, we're looking to slightly slow down clears after the first clear, with level 1 and level 2 being identical to how they are already. So that's not changed. The addition here is that health now scales past level 11 as champions continue to gain damage. Since all other respawning gold sources like minions, epic monsters, and champions all do, I guess so should jungle monsters. Blue and red buffs scale harder late game than regular monsters, since they provide twice the number of buffs than they used to. I agree with that change. And some Raptors change. The Raptors change will slightly close the gap between AoE and single target junglers, who typically wait for their pet to clean up the small Raptors anyway. True. So the health. Look at them. So yeah, obviously they scale now to level 18, and that will, by the way, go off average level in the game. That's how they'll work that out for those that are like, how's that going to work? Yeah, the average level in the game is how these will level up to. Where they used to stop leveling at level 11, they are now continuing to level 18. So yeah, this is really going to slow down junglers. Wow. That's interesting. So even like, you know, the big Raptors got more health than it used to. But the mini Raptors don't actually have that as many. Whoa. So the Greater Merc Wolf is now 3,760 starting at level 1. Whoa, damn, you junglers. Again, I jungle a little bit, but yeah, that's going to slow you guys down a lot. Wow, okay. So all these looking to put these numbers in spreadsheet, this one's for you. So there you go. But yeah, in essence, it's going to take quite a lot longer to do jungle clear. So that's interesting. Rift Scuttler, obviously the neutral camp is also being changed. So, oh my god, it's also, again, getting so much more health than it used to. Gold given, though, is you are going to be rewarded more gold. And you are also going to be rewarded more experience as the game goes on. So there you go. And then monster attack damage and champion clear health. So with this list of changes, we're taking a small swing at the shape of jungle clears. We have a few goals here. First, we're trying to limit the degree that junglers can fully heal from a short trip into the jungler. Thank you. That is, it's so stupid that they could literally, a Hecarim can be low health, run into a Raptor camp, run out and full health. It's like, what? That should not be allowed. But yeah, capping the pet heal per second and converting the monster kill heal into % missing health should keep junglers from easily healing back up to full, because healing is lower on average, with slightly reducing monster attack damage in the early game, otherwise just smoothing out AD progression in the late game. It's also worth remembering that large monsters also deal some % current health damage, so these changes are actually pretty small in practice. And then we're updating the jungle pet scaling rules also. So, yeah. So they're changing the attack damage formula for them. The heals that you used to get used to be 30 to 166. It's now changing to 12% on missing health. And then mana also used to be a flat, and it's going to 20% of missing mana. Okay, so technically, I guess that is less sustain. And then the jungle companions are also going less on scaling. So there we go. Anti-poaching adjustments. Junglers should not feel the following changes, but they should be something laners should feel. Mathematically, camps now have a 20% more health for non-junglers, while junglers themselves won't notice a thing unless they don't buy the jungle item. This means that laners will have to rely on lane minions a lot more than they currently do, and junglers will find their camps poached less often than they currently do today. So they don't want laners stealing jungle minions, in essence. So like, you know, Battles FFS, who's quite common in taking Krugs always, that's probably not going to happen as much anymore, because they just don't want that. I guess they really want to be like, no, you're laners, you've got the minions, you're a jungler, you've got the jungle monsters. I guess that's what they want to do. So yeah, they're getting way more armor and magic resist. Even small monsters are getting 20 armor and magic resist. Ooh. But there you go. The jungle item damage to non-epic monsters is, there you go, it's the 42, which is there. So that makes sense. Lane minion experience adjustments for junglers. So because we're enacting some protection for junglers to have their own camps available, we're also implementing some changes to decentivize junglers from poaching lane minions. That's cool. The problem is, I will say this. Sorry, Maya just moaned. The problem with this is all good in practice that Riot's like, right, junglers don't take minions. It is different. And this as someone that more is a laner than a jungler, it's one thing for a laner to leave their lane to go take a jungle camp. That's a big decision that laner is making to do that. When a jungler naturally runs into a lane to gank, and let's say they get a kill, it's very natural for that jungler to be like, oh, I'll take that minion and that minion and that minion, and that's just the way that it works. So doing this isn't really going to disincentivize a jungler from doing that. It's very rare, unless they're playing Graves, I guess. He's the biggest one that does it. That, oh, my laner's currently not in mid. I'm going to run in and take 2 waves. Junglers don't really do that, not massively. It's more when they run in, gank, and then take a few minions after. So the minion experience penalty disable was 1.1 levels behind the game average. It's now 1.5 levels, so you have to be 1.5 levels under the game's average to get actual full minion experience. And minion experience received, you actually get 40% to 75% of the experience from a minion between minutes 0 and 14, or levels maybe. No, that has to be, level 0 doesn't exist. That has to be minutes. And then 100% of the experience used to be, it's now changing that, by the way. Never mind, strike what I've just said. This is what it used to be. It used to be 40% to 75% at minutes 0 to 14. And then after that point, you could then get full experience after minute 14. They're changing it to you get even less experience now from a minion. 30% experience if you're playing jungle at the beginning of the game. And at 20 minutes is when you actually unlock the full experience from getting minions, where it used to be 14 minutes. That's a big nerf. Wow. So the only thing I will say, junglers might get underleveled from this now, because they would get experience passively from minions even dying around them. They're going to get no experience from just helping getting minions. Ooh. And the mini experience penalty is no longer locked in whenever jungle item is finished. So there's that. So yeah, that is that's a lot. So again, look, overall these changes roughly amount to roughly 8% less minion experience than they give today in early to mid game. The junglers are going to actually have to do their own jungle more, and this is the whole thing. They're going to have to do their jungle more to get experience, and their jungle now takes longer to do. They are nerfing jungle, but I think it's fine. Jungle has been so strong for the last couple of years. And I know if you're a jungle main, you might be freaking out, going, oh, they're nerfing us. You've been really strong. Like, it's been the dominant role. Most games are which jungler is better. That's how you get the win. So I actually like that they are pretty heavily nerfing jungle. Starter item buffs, by the way. So all champions now only can buy 1 Doran item. So we've all seen that Riven, who is desperate to win lane, by 3 Doran's blades. Can't do that anymore. And that will actually affect some individual players. There are players out there that they do buy Doran's blades a few times. That's their playstyle. Can't do that. So at the moment, we don't intend to make jungle itself any scarier. We'd like to lower the power of early ganks a tad. Oh my god. Because we can't really change the strength of low-level monster caps. Oh, that's how they're doing it. So we're so this is actually another nerf to junglers. How is it another nerf to junglers? They're saying we can't do any more in the jungle. We've already done quite a lot there. But what we can do is we can make all laners stronger who buy Doran's items first. So every laner who buys a Doran's blade has got 2 more attack damage. That's a bit more damage in the early game, and 20 more health. Each mage or Doran's ring user, more ability power, more health. Doran's shield, more health, more regen. More health for Dark Seal, more support stuff, more health, more attack damage. Every laner has suddenly got an early game buff, which is a nerf to junglers, because the moment, like, it's not a nerf or a buff to laners, because both top laners will have a Doran's item. Both AD carries will, in theory, have a Doran's item. Both mid laners will have a Doran's item. The one person that doesn't is the jungler. That's a nerf to them. That's a really funny way of nerfing their early game. Wow. Oh my god, it's big jungle nerfs. Water walking has been nerfed, which again is mainly another jungle rune, because obviously junglers fight a lot in the river. Snowballing adjustments. Okay, so this is again another big angle that they're doing. So I would say it does finally feel that Riot is listening to the player base. And I don't know if it's technically Freak. Obviously, he's joined the balance team. I don't know if this is him really contributing. Maybe, like, the one thing I will say, Freak is definitely biased to AD carries. There's no doubt about that. But he, like me, is an old school League player. You know, he casted season 1 of Worlds. Like, he's been around from the beginning. I bet there is part of him that does miss the more strategic, tactical version of League, rather than this just absolutely stupid high damage, less tactile, less skill based game. And maybe he's going to slowly bring it back a little bit. It's never going to be what it was, nowhere near, but less snowballing would be nice, and that's what they're doing here. So snowballing League currently happens very quickly, which leads to a large amount of games feeling that they have been decided 15 minutes in. This doesn't allow players to experience a lot of the fun aspects of League outside the laning phase. Like late game team fighting. That's my favorite thing in the game. Late game team fighting is my favorite thing in League, literally. Objective contesting and planning, and satisfying item breakpoints and macro play. Yeah. The problem is more prevalent in high levels of play, but it still happens more than we're comfortable with in all skill brackets. To address this, we're making adjustments to many of the systems in League that contribute to the issue of how quickly games are decided, whether it's through gold not affecting rune outputs quite so much, shorter death timers allowing behind players to get back to lane sooner, or dragons not offering as many stats to the winning team. These are all intended to create more time to play before a game feels decided. Cool. Our primary goal is to decelerate how much quickly teams can snowball early leads so that everyone can access other fun parts of mid to late game, which we believe should have bigger role in deciding games. That's really cool if they manage to achieve it. So the dragon stuff, so Cloud, every single dragon is getting worse. So Cloud used to give 7% slow resist and out of combat movement speed. It's now 5. Hextech Dragon, 7.5 ability haste and 7.5 bonus attack speed. It's now 5. Infernal Dragon used to give 5% attack damage and ability power. It's now 3. Mountain Dragon, 8 bonus armor and stuff. It's now 5. Ocean Dragon, missing health. It's now less again. So every single dragon is giving less, which is great. That is just nerfs overall, because dragons are really strong. The Dragon Souls also are getting stronger. That might confuse some people, but it shouldn't. What Riot has said themselves is they want each individual early dragon to not, you know, snowball a game. But if you've managed to kill all 4, well, then you're easily in mid game by then, and that's what Riot wants to highlight more, is mid to late game, and a Dragon Soul is a more mid to late game thing. So they still want to reward the team that gets the dragons. You should be rewarded. You're not being as rewarded while you're getting to the Dragon Soul, but if you got the Dragon Soul, boom, it's stronger. And again, a lot of it is just going to be kind of making up for the nerfs up here, I'd imagine. So the Cloud Drake is going 15% bonus movement speed. It's now 20. Hextech Drake was 40% base slow, 30 for range. It's 45, 35 for range. Infernal Dragon is 80 base adaptive damage for explosions, 100. So that's basically what they're doing. I actually think that's quite a nice change. Rift Herald contributes plenty to snowball games states due to a large amount of gold on kill, the empowered recall, and the Herald itself solidifying leads. And obviously all the tower plate gold as well. We believe there's room to reduce the amount of reward that it gives, and we're targeting the local gold amount to limit the gold the jungler receives both when soloing it and when taking it with a teammate. So if a jungler solos it, they get 200 gold. If the top laner helps, you get 100 gold each. The local gold is being halved. So if a jungler solos it, they're only going to get 100 now. If the top laner and jungler do it, you're only getting 50 each. So that does help a bit. Baron's health is going up to 15,000. So it was 12,600, so it's going to take longer to do Baron, more of a late game thing, which is good. Death timers are going lower. So level 1 death timer is still 6 seconds. Level 2 death timer is still 6 seconds. And then every single death timer is actually being adjusted. So level 3 is 8. Level 4 is still 8. Level 5 is 10, so that's 4 seconds less. Level 6 is 12, so again, 4 seconds less. Level 7 used to be 21, it's now 16. Level 8 was 27.5, it's 21. And level 9 was 30, it's now 26. So that is a lot less death timers, so you're being punished less for dying a bit. So that's good. Big thing here, everybody. So obviously tower plates and split pushing and all that stuff has been such a big thing. They are nerfing gold per plate. So it was 175 gold per plate. It's now being nerfed by 50, so 125. So that's good, because obviously there are some playstyles out there, we all know them, that the player against you seems to be more focused on getting tower plates than basically anything else. And it's like, it's not the most interactive playstyle. And I think Riot is addressing that, which is good. So there we go. That's nice. Rune adjustments. So I'm not going to go through all of them. But yeah, Conqueror is being changed. And they're in essence nerfing these, by the way. So they are making them weaker. So the game is not as snowbally, not as fast, not as much damage. So they are toning things down, which I think is great. So Conqueror is being toned a bit down. Lethal tempo the same. Electrocute is actually, I think, being hilariously nerfed in scaling, but buffed in flat damage. Dark Harvest, I think, is having the same treatment. Arcane Comet is actually, again, having the same treatment. Yeah, well, they all are. So everything is basically being toned down. Everyone's damage from their runes is going to be doing less damage. I think this is good. You know, for ages, how long have I been saying I want a bit less damage in the game? They're doing it, partially. Everything is going down, which is really good. That's pretty cool. So that's good to see. ARAM adjustments, not really interested. Behavioral systems, following up on a rank restriction we introduced last patch. We're going to remove the ability for ARAM and rotating event game modes to count towards. So yeah, I have heard that, obviously, for those that didn't, if you were a toxic individual and you got banned from ranked, because that was a new thing Riot implemented, you're banned for 5 games in ranked. ARAM just became horrible because all the banned for 5 game ranked players all jumped in ARAMs. That's predominantly where they went. And actual ARAM players was stopping playing because it became an awful experience. So the only mode, now that they're removing ARAM and rotating and event game modes, because that's where people want to have fun, is normal games. So you're going to have to play normal games. I don't massively agree with how they've done this. Like, don't get me wrong, having toxic ranked people not in ranked is kind of ideal, but throwing them to the normal game players doesn't seem fair. Riot need to get over their own hump of not having toxic queue. It works. A toxic player cannot complain about being lumped with the other toxic players if they are toxic. Put them all together. I don't know why Riot doesn't. The incentive should be don't end up in toxic queue. That should be an incentive, right? That will stop people not being toxic. This doesn't stop people from being toxic. It just makes them play something for 5 games or jump on a different account until it happens again. Like, I don't know. I just don't love that. So, this is quite interesting. Okay, so obviously what they did last patch, I actually don't know what they're doing. So, in this patch, we're continuing to fine-tune the ping adjustments introduced last patch, making sure we're considering player feedback as we make them. Yeah, it was idiotic that you couldn't ping champion ultimates. Like, you could have a Karthus as your jungler, your lane opponent is nearly dead, and you couldn't ping Karthus use your ultimate. Like, what? That was idiotic. So we want to continue to empower players to communicate, but in ways that aren't frequently misused to harass other players. Tools like objective planning and the addition of new ping types last year were a big step in creating more ways for players to communicate, but they weren't perfect. As we've been looking at how players have been using them, it's become clear how they have been misused as well. Our goal is to continue to provide access to these tools while limiting their ability to be used in abusive ways. Due to their low usage rates, we've opted to replace the bait ping and hold pings with more frequently used enemy vision and need vision pings. And on the main ping wheel, sorry, we're eliminating the complications of having a secondary ping vision ping wheel in the process, which I actually think is pretty good. We will continue to monitor usage and replayer feedback about these changes going forward. So yeah, the bait ping and hold ping are going. Bait ping is going for different reason to hold. So hold was just never used. Bait ping was just taken over by toxic people. And I actually do really like the enemy as vision and need vision pings, but I very often didn't use them because they were on a separate ping wheel. So I think I'll end up, like a lot of people, probably using them more now that they're going to be on the main ping wheel. So that's good. So other changes too is ally scoreboard pings are now sent to your pre-made party instead of being self-only. So if you are duo with your friend, you can both spam and see as a duo or pre-made. So I get okay. For 10 seconds after being for 10 seconds after getting a champion takedown, all allied scoreboard pings directed at your champion are visible to the team. Oh, okay, that's why they've done that. I even said sometimes it was really nice, you know, like when you spammed the profile of one of your teammates, right? Let's say you've got a Darius top lane and he does a really good play in top lane, and you actually want to congratulate him for doing that, but you don't use chat. Quite often people would just spam the Darius and he would know he just did a good play. Oh, my team's spamming me. They think I did a good thing. Obviously, that went away with this change, but if you get a kill, your team can ping you a bit and you can see that. So that's nice. That's a good change. The bait ping has been replaced with enemy vision ping, and the hold ping has been replaced with need vision ping. The vision cleared ping and the vision ping wheel have been removed. So they've actually just, in essence, gotten rid of that. People just didn't really use it. But there we go. Worlds Clash is happening October 14th and 15th. So that it's this weekend. I might try to see if the Clash team's available. I'm still obviously not well, but I think by the weekend, I will try to give Clash a go at least on one of the days. So I'll actually send them a message after I record this. So Clash. Mythic shop rotation is happening. Oh, so Neo Pax Jax. Oh, here we go. In this patch, we'll be introducing a newer version of Pax Jax along his visual update. This skin is amply named Neo Pax Jax. For original Pax Jax owners, that's me, you'll be receiving this skin for free within the next few patches. Hey, no action required. But if you didn't own the original Pax Jax, fear not, you can drop by the Mythic shop and pick him up for 200 Mythic Essence. Note, if you're an original Pax Jax owner and do not receive it by December 6, 2023, or you accidentally buy him for Mythic Essence, please reach out to player support. In addition, to preserve the rarity of Pax Jax for players that have it, the original would not be made available to purchase. So I was going to say this, like, obviously, if you're a Pax anything skin owner, Pax Severe, Jax, Twisted Fate, is that it? They are very rare skins, and you wouldn't want them to become available again because it really diminishes that. The Neo ones do diminish it a little bit because it opens it up, even like the Neo version, but it's fine in a way, you know, why not? Bug fixes, upcoming skins, and there we go. So many changes, a lot of jungle nerfs, but jungle, like, it's going to sound funny what I'm about to say. Normal nerfs that happen, obviously, is like, let's say Akshan gets really nerfed and then he's just not played anymore. Yeah, jungle is still going to be played, obviously. It's just not going to be as important. And I think that's the big thing. Jungle has been the most important role, I would say, in League for about 2 years. You know, it truly has. Most of your games are determined which jungler's better, which jungler's snowballing, which jungler's taking objectives. And think about it. Jungle is going to be slower clearing. All laners are going to have better early games with slightly better Doran's items. Each dragon, so if your jungler just isn't focusing dragons, each individual dragon is giving less, so they're not as important, but the dragon soul still is. I think all of this stuff is really good. All, obviously, damage in the game as a general thing is going to go down because of a lot of the damage runes are going down. These are really good changes. Like, for me, this is a really good step in the right direction. So I actually like it. I don't know, obviously, who has done the patch note. Obviously, the author is Riru, but it's the team behind it, obviously, that have done it. And I think, you know, we'll see how the patch goes. We'll be playing on it and seeing the effects. I think this is pretty good. I'd love to know what you guys think about it, though. Like, if you're a jungle main especially, what do you think? But please let me know. I'll be reading the comments. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. My voice did actually manage to hold out for 55 minutes. It's probably going to be a bit sore in about 20 minutes, I'd imagine, but that's another story. If you guys do appreciate the effort of me doing it, I'm going to edit it right now, get it uploaded. Please do throw a like on the video, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.